It was an otherwise sunny and peaceful Saturday outside the Sanaa Cafe near the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The serenity interrupted when this man walked past the cafe windows where customers worked on laptops and then turned and went inside, targeting a female customer.
The ladies, they screamed loud, so it was so scary.
This employee asked us not to use her name or show her face as she describes what she witnessed. She says the man went to the back and quickly grabbed a woman's MacBook before darting out the door. But watch what happens as he exits. Customers hot on his tracks tackle him less than 100 feet from the front door and hold him without hurting him until police arrive minutes later.
It surprised me, but yeah, I'm so happy when they do that.
And it wasn't just customers from inside the cafe that helped. There were patrons outside here too, with their coffee and their smartphones in hand, and instead of stopping and taking video, they jumped up and helped a neighbor in need. A popular social media account at Frisco Live 415 posted video after customers jumped into action and the police response that followed. They talked to the first customer to reach the suspect.
Luckily, within seconds, everyone ran outside, so I just, told people to pick, someone on one leg, someone on another leg, and hold his arms as well, just so he would stop trying to fight and hit me, and we can control him until the cops got here. And they seem to get here pretty quickly.
It's very great seeing that that people aren't just bystanders.
In the meantime, customers at Sanaa Cafe say it's refreshing to see people helping someone in need.
The entirety of the community here just act on her behalf and stand up for her. It's very reassuring, and it's like you said, it ignites my faith in humanity.
People acting on it, and a lot of people acting on it, I think it says a lot about this community.
We reached out to SFPD for more information, but a spokesperson said no details would be available until Monday.
The only way that you can solve for crime within a community, in my personal opinion, is by everybody getting involved that's a part of the community. That's the whole idea behind early neighborhood watches. That was the whole idea behind community policing. That's the real community policing. It doesn't mean that you remove the police that's already there. What it means is that everybody participates in the success of the community by being great stewards. And if you see something, say something. If you see something, do something. Don't let your neighbor get hurt. Don't let the people that surround you suffer as a result of it. And so that's the real logic behind community policing. Community policing is not supposed to be a situation where people suffer as a result of not saying anything. And I say this all the time. We absolutely know who the problem people are inside of the community. We know who the people are that's doing some of the worst things that's in the community. And so if you don't at some point make the adjustment and start participating in your own success, what happens is the property values go down. I was actually arguing and going back and forth with a guy yesterday that was on After Hours, and he was trying to tell me, oh no, everything is systematic, everything is this, everything is that. No, we can fix our communities if we really wanted to. We can help the police. We can make it easier. We can make it very, very difficult for people to wind up doing some of the egregious things that's against the police officers by really being proactive and participating in the success of our own community. So shout out to that. I definitely wanted to bring forth a good story that would highlight when you do the right thing, ultimately it makes it more difficult for criminals to then be able to perpetuate some of the crimes that they have perpetuated against humanity. In addition to that, over in Chicago, where they do no community policing, another man is dead and 2 men are injured in another shooting overnight. Check it out.
Now to breaking news. 1 man is dead and 2 others injured after a shooting in Inglewood last night.
This morning, Chicago police are looking for that shooter. CBS 2's Mugo Odigwe is live at the University of Chicago Hospital, where one of the victims is now being treated. Good morning, Mugo.
Yeah, good morning to you, Dana and Ryan. So Chicago police say they are still working to figure out what led up to the shooting, but they tell us the men were standing outside a store when shots were fired. So take a look at this video because you can see police officers out there investigating. That store is called Halstead Grocery and Liquor on 71st Street in Halstead. You can see several evidence markers on the ground, including one that's next to what appears to be a shell casing. Again, Chicago police say the men were standing in the parking lot of the store just after 9:30 last night when those shots were fired. One of them, a 35-year-old man, was shot multiple times and died at the hospital. A 38-year-old man is in the hospital right now with serious injuries. Finally, a 34-year-old man was treated and then released. Again, right now, Chicago police are saying the circumstances behind the shooting are not clear at the moment. They tell us.
Shout out to my girl Mugo. They got Mugo out in these streets working a late night shift. She went and got her makeup done, her hair did, lips did, all of that. And Mugo is out here continuing to report on all of the negativity that's happening out here in these streets. Let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something. I was telling my daughter, I was actually having a conversation with my daughter because we passed some new inspections. And so we got the insulation going up. That should be done on one of the properties. And then we have, you know, the drywall people coming in, and we got so much stuff coming in, right? And I was talking to Leslie, and we was just kind of detailing what our plans was. And it's so refreshing because I have the type of relationship with my daughter where we talk about things. We talk about what our expectations are, where we want to go on a trip. We talk about our future plans. She tells me every day of what her plans are, how she's so confused as a teenager as to what she really want to do in life. And then I reassure her that, hey, whatever it is that you do, first you got to get this STEM degree. And then you'll always be able to stay with daddy. And you don't ever have to leave the house ever. You literally don't have to ever leave this house. You can stay here forever. But we was talking, and then I was telling her, hey, Les, you know, as a 42-year-old man, I'm kind of sort of right in the middle on the back end of my life, right? I'm on the second half of my life. And she was saying that, you know, you got so much life, and we was going through our plans. And I said, yo, I just don't have time for the nonsense no more, Les. In this second half of my life, everything has to be meaningful. I'm not going to be randomly standing outside on a corner store. I don't want to have any friends that's not adding value into my life that I can't add value back into their life. I don't want to have anybody that's hanging around me just for the sake of hanging around, but just mooching off of me. I don't want to have a bunch of friends and family that's just using me. I want to have every moment be meaningful. And so long life, healthy life, success, and I'm no longer ever going to be around the BS. I don't want to stand around on a corner store. I don't want to just kick it. I don't want to just show up to a family function and it just be that. You know what I'm saying? I want every single situation and every circumstance to be meaningful and to be useful and impactful. And I don't want to waste time. So many people waste time. We're going to get into the boomer wealth and conversation later on. But man, I don't want to be in a situation where everybody around me is just around me for the sake of being around. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, last but not least, Atlanta strip club Onyx. Remember when they did the heist on the gold and they stole all of the millions? Well, they did a similar situation with Onyx in that they came through the ceiling, apparently, and stole $250,000 in cash. Check it out.
And police are investigating a burglary at a popular strip club where two people stole hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash after they cut a hole in the building's roof. So take a look here. This is video from our 11 Alive Sky Tracker. You're looking at Onyx Gentlemen's Club on Cheshire Bridge Road. According to Atlanta police, two suspects, they cut a hole in the roof and then they climbed into the business around 4:15 Monday morning. They say the suspects used power tools to break into a safe containing around $250,000 in cash. If you have any information about the burglary, you're asked to call Atlanta police.
So, yeah, $250,000 in cash was stolen from an Atlanta strip club. Looks like they're going to really have to start backing the Brinks truck up again. And I don't know what to say. I guess I don't really care about gentlemen's clubs. The whole ego thing and filling strippers' heads with money. You know, I realized the other day, probably about 6 months ago, that they take 10% of all of the ones that you buy inside of the strip club, or at least in some of them they do. I just learned that.